I carried a billionaire's son 6 blocks in sneakers 2 sizes too big, praying my laces wouldn't betray me, praying the ER doors would open fast enough, praying that the little blue tint on his lips wasn't the last color his dad would ever remember. The doctor took one look and set it flat like she was anchoring herself to the truth so she wouldn't shake. He was poisoned. Everything went quiet around that word, like the room sucked in its breath and forgot how to let it out. If I had tripped once, if I had taken the wrong alley, you wouldn't be hearing me right now. You'd be hearing a eulogy, you know what I mean. My name is Luna Rivera Bayview, raised couch-to-couch church basement kind of kid. The one people look through the way you look through a bus window when it's raining. I know plants the way some people know baseball stats, because my grandma Nana Ines put a mortar and pestle in my hands before I could tie those 2 big sneakers. Every leaf is a sentence, mija, she'd say, tapping my knuckles when I rushed a boil, and you have to know where it wants to sit in the story. That afternoon in Seacliff Park, the sun turned everything hard and shiny. The swings squeaked like they were gossiping, and there he was by the sandbox, laid out too, still, blonde hair stuck to his forehead, shirt with a tiny blue whale that seemed to be laughing at me, lips, the wrong kind of blue breath, shallow, a bitter green note on it that didn't belong to gum or juice boxes. Quiet Vine. Nana's name for a team-up poison that whispers to organs until they just agree to stop. I'm not strong, not the way people measure it, but panic is a motor and love for a stranger is a kind of fuel, so I scooped him up, his head bumping my shoulder, told him the only command I had in me, stay, and ran. People stared, of course, then stared harder at something else because that's easier, a security guard said. Hey, like I was shoplifting a child. The street burned my feet through rubber, the hospital doors breathed open, and I yelled a word, I don't waste, help, and the right woman heard it. Dr. Priya Shah moved like she'd already imagined this moment 500 times, like her hands had their own brain. Okay, buddy. I got you, she said to the boy, then to me. What's his name? And I hated that. I didn't know hated that. I might be the girl who brought a nameless child in and watched him leave this world under lights that make everyone look worse. Numbers flashed, a beeping machine, scribbled a story nobody liked. A nurse guided me to a corner with a paper cup of water and eyes that said she wanted to sit with me and couldn't. I watched through the little round window as if my seeing could change the lines on that screen. The door burst open like a headline, and a man in a suit that probably had a mortgage rushed in, jaw like a plan watch, like a billboard phone vomiting notifications, even on silent. Where is my son? He asked, voice breaking on the word, the way a branch breaks under ice, and somebody said his name so softly. I almost missed it, Mr. Hale. He should have looked like money. He looked like a man who just got told money had no hands. Sir Dr. Shah said soft steel time is the problem, not resources. He didn't hear or he heard and refused to accept it. Get whoever fly, whoever money is, no object. And she didn't raise her voice, she just said it again. Here's where I shouldn't have shut up and let grown-ups do the grown-up thing. Here's where 9-year-olds are supposed to sit on their hands and be grateful. But the smell in the room was wrong. The rhythm of their treatments wasn't what Quiet Vine respects. Excuse me, I said, the room full of urgent adults. It's a team-up. You have to talk to the stomach first, then the liver, then guard the kidneys, then the counterbeat. If you go out of order, it doubles down. They hear kids like me and think cute, sweet hush. Dr. Shah, didn't she set a syringe down like it was glass turned toward me, with eyes that changed 3 times in one breath? Skepticism to curiosity to, okay, tell me. What do you need? She asked, and Mr. Hale did something I did not expect. He knelt, so our eyes were level, executive to kid desperation. stripping him down to father. If there's a chance we take it, what do you need? Not much, just a botanica, and 10 minutes in a staff kitchen, with no one freaking out about health codes. The bell at La Tierra chimed. Doña Pilar clocked me in one glance, worry, then action. We spoke in a shorthand that smells like dried citrus peels and old wood shelves. Mr. Hale tried to pay with a metal card. She pushed it back like it offended her. This is a promise, not a price, and he looked stunned because not everything can be bought. Yeah, that happened. Back in the kitchen, I washed my hands like a surgeon, because oil tips, scales, gentles first to line the stomach so the rest doesn't burn. Then a friend for the liver, then 2 bouncers at the kidneys, then the counterbeat foxglove's cousin. Not a toy, always about timing, always about the hand that says now and means it. We pulled the brew into a syringe, not a needle, a trickle, tilted him just so, breath by breath, drop by drop. I told him he was doing good, even if he was too far under to hear me. And 20 minutes later, the blue on his lips gave up, the machine found a better song. Dr. Shaw let one tear escape and tried to be mad at it. Mr. Hale leaned on the wall like he had to hold up the building, and then the boy blinked. "Dad," he whispered, and the whole room exhaled like we'd been underwater. I learned his name in that inhale. Owen, he looked at me with kid seriousness and asked, "Are you an angel?" And I laughed because the fluorescent light made my hair look wild. "I'm just Luna, and we got lucky. If the story ended there, you'd be happy you'd click out. You'd tell me to write a cookbook, but the poison didn't wander in off the wind. It had a schedule and a purpose." Dr. Shaw came back with lab printouts and a face that had held too many parents' hands. "Slow dose over days," she said, precise, intentional, and Mr. Hale made a sound like metal bending. "He has a nanny," he said. Then didn't say her name, like saying it would make it true. She loves him, and people say love like it's a shield. Sometimes it's a costume. Sergeant Naomi West handled our case boots, planted questions clean. She talked to me like a witness, not a prop. "You mentioned your grandmother. You got anything written down?" she asked, and I pulled Nana's notebook from my backpack. Pages soft at the corners, ink like vines. It was coded not for mystery, but for survival. And in those twists and curls lived a word that wasn't a word, the conservatory drawn as glass panes and neat rows, notes on children who make men behave, recipes that weren't recipes for anyone who didn't know which leaves speak truth. The first bad sign showed up as a text to Mr. Hale from his household manager, Daria Lang, the kind of woman who irons sheet corners and meaning. "Anja is devastated. Needs time off," it read. And the same morning her apartment was cleaned out to tile. "That's not grief, that's flight." "She's running," I said, and the way he stared at the screen made me want to give him a hammer and a room full of things that don't matter. They moved us to a safe house with beige carpets and a sofa that had heard too many secrets. Sergeant West posted uniforms at the door at 3:11 a.m. A call came from a voice with rank, telling her to deliver us downtown immediately. Official words strung like beads, and she side-eyed me without moving her head. Nana had written this play. If they can't get in, they'll invite you out with a seal and a signature. So we slid down the back stairs with our hearts in our mouths and went to an address that lived in Nana's curves and loops. The woman who opened the Sunset Park apartment was the kind you trust on sight. Hair-wrapped laugh lines that told on her eyes that had paid for their wisdom. "You must be Inez's granddaughter," she said, like she'd been expecting me. "I'm Vera, and the back room." She led us to looked like a library, got into a fight with a lab, and they both survived photos, arrows, strings of cause and effect, faces that sit on boards, faces that pour juice into cups in other people's kitchens. "The conservatory," she said, And even the air listened. They plant themselves in rich homes like ivy, slow. Then everywhere they prefer inside jobs. Nannies, house managers, tutors. The people who learn your grocery list by heart. Why we asked, knowing the answer would taste bad. Leverage information, and when necessary. Inventory, Vera said, and her eyes flicked to Owen and back, and say what you need to say here because I will not spell out the worst parts. I'll just say this, there are reasons some children are more valuable to monsters than money. Pattern interrupt. We had a choice. Run or turn the lights on. Vera popped a small case like a magician inside. Sat an inhaler that wasn't one luminol microcapsules, she said. Invisible until my light tells the truth. It sticks to skin, hair, fabric. You can scrub till your hands go red. It still glows. The plan sounded like something a movie would get wrong, but the pieces were right. A bracelet that looked like a kid's medical alert with a tracker. You'd never feel a button camera practiced at questions, a father who hated the idea, a boy who said yes anyway because courage doesn't ask age, and a girl in 2 big sneakers who'd spent her life being ignored and suddenly was the one everyone was listening to. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. Central Green looked normal, which is a costume parks wear, joggers, strollers. A dog that might eat better than I do, a woman with a clipboard. Approached badge flashed, tone official. Department of Child Welfare. We need to take Owen for observation. And their routine was polished. They let Mr. Hale say no 3 times. On the 4th, they leaned just enough. Owen looked at me, then at his dad. Then did the bravest thing I've ever seen a kid do, he went. The office they took him to had a sign that said one thing and a door that meant another. The second his sneakers crossed the threshold. I pressed the device, sent a breath of invisible truth down a hallway. Not enough to trip alarms, enough to cling. On our monitor in Vera's van, the button camera caught a waiting room, staged like a dentist's lobby for theater critics. 2 clean flowers that never wilt. Smiles tuned to the same key. And then the twist, you're not ready for the person who sat at the little round table pouring tea with a perfect wrist, wasn't the nanny. It was Daria Lang, the household manager, the woman who had chosen the Christmas tree for the Hale living room 3 years running, the woman who tracked the peanut allergy on the school form, the one who knew which light bulbs went in, which lamps. Owen, sweetheart, she said. The sunshine tone she uses on caterers and cops. I know this is scary, but things will be so much better now, and Owen. God bless that kid asked it the way we practiced small, almost curious Ms. Lang. Did you make me sick because if you throw the big word, big people run, but if you give them a soft ledge, they'll step off of it. Daria didn't even flinch. She just moved her smile a fraction to the left. We made you sick so we could make you better. Sickness teaches gratitude. Gratitude creates order. Order makes good lives, and there. It was the thesis statement of Monsters. Then she tilted her head like she was adjusting a picture. And your blood is very special, and in the van, I felt heat crawl my neck. Mr. Hale's fingers dug into the edge of the screen like he could enter the pixels. Sergeant West touched his sleeve once. Steady and Owen climbed the next rung. Did you do that to Luna's grandma? The question landing soft, deadly. Daria's face forgot its manners. The smile emptied. Your little street friend's grandmother was supposed to fetch, not think people who can't follow rules are liabilities. And liabilities are managed. And if you ever wondered what evil sounds like in an indoor voice, it's that. Vera tapped a key, the light in our kit clicked to violet, and Daria lit up in our view like stardust. The capsules had kissed everyone in that building. The outer team moved, doors, flew real badges, real guns, holstered and ready. Plastic squealed on floors. Somebody dropped a clipboard like a thunderclap. and then Owen was under his father's arm, head tucked, eyes open. Mr. Hale made a sound I hope I never hear again, and also hope I never forget, which is what breaking and healing at the same time sounds like. The raid turned into a string of keys. In the right locks, servers coughed up secrets, visas turned into paper hats, names with clean LinkedIns, got read in rooms with bad coffee. 12 kids were moved at dawn to places with windows that truly open. 20 families had dinners where nobody ate, and everybody cried. The TV showed the part it can fit. A woman escorted a table of evidence, a seal on a podium. The part it couldn't fit was a hallway where a father stood with a sleeping boy and discovered he wasn't in charge of the universe. And it might be okay, a kitchen where a girl swung her legs off a chair and hummed what her grandma hummed when a broth needed patience. A back room where a retired spook healer named Vera marked up a map and then set the pen down, because some days all you can do is breathe and sharpen your tools. You want resolution, I do too, but life drips, it doesn't snap. Daria's trial sits in a courtroom with a flag and a seal. A very expensive lawyer says words like isolated and alleged. A prosecutor with binders says chain of custody and pattern. The jury brings their own ghosts somewhere else. Someone with influence files a memo that turns network into overreach, and out front of the Hale place, a silver sedan idled a little too long. One night the next morning, a package arrived with one perfect apple inside and a note in tidy script: pruning is normal after a storm. Orchards survive smug isn't a crime, but it's a tell. The detectives bagged it, logged it, shook their heads the way people do when they know a story doesn't end just because the credits rolled on the first act. So what do you do with all that when you're 9 going on old? You plant. Mint that doesn't bite chamomile with patient little faces, calendula loud and sunny. You teach the boy. You saved how long to steep before bitter turns to better. You let the man whose armor got cracked try to grill chicken and pretend you like it when he burns it. You answer the door for Sergeant West when she stops by out of uniform and laughs like she's practicing. You text Dr. Shah pictures of the garden, and she sends you snaps of a lab notebook. Scribble with a caption, teach me that timing again, and you fall asleep in a room that is actually your room, staring at a ceiling that has no water stains, asking the dark if this is a loan or a life, and waking up anyway, because that's the job. If it were you, what would you have done? Trusted a kid who smells like city sweat and dried leaves, or waited for a specialist on a plane? Do you think that's fair, that sometimes the only way to get justice is to use a child as bait, that a girl in 2 big sneakers has to carry both the cure and the evidence, because the system is busy arguing with itself? We needed all of it, the hospital science, the kitchen science, the street science, the kind of cop who says no to the wrong boss, a rich man who followed a poor kid into a store that doesn't take metal cards, a little boy who walked into fear with his eyes open because we told him we'd be right behind him, and then we actually were. I'm not here to sell you a moral with a bow. I'm here to tell you what happened and ask you to look at yourself in it. If a stranger kid ran up to you looking like trouble in hand-me-down shoes, would you hold the door or look away? If a woman who has access to your grocery list smiles and tells you everything is fine, would you notice the crack, or would you call it a reflection and move on? And when you hear the word poison, will you imagine a headline or a kitchen where someone is lining up leaves in the right order? Because sometimes that's what standing up looks like. If this story hit you anywhere, tender hit, like share it with the person who needs to believe. The overlooked can do impossible things, and subscribe if you want more true feeling stories told by someone who's had to move the couch even when it scraped the floor. Drop your city in the comments and tell me what you think about right and wrong. When they wear weird outfits, argue with me if you need to tell me when you were underestimated and did the hard thing anyway. Do you think we crossed a line using a kid to catch monsters? Or do you think lines get redrawn when the lights finally come on? I'll be reading every word, because your answers are how we figure out if we're actually getting better, or just changing the lighting. D11.